Let's talk about the most epic Nerf war that I've ever had the pleasure of taking part of, okay? So, one year I was a camp counselor, and my boss, who's not my friend, suggested that we had a Nerf war because he was bored and he realized the camp had a few extra guns that they didn't need. So he was like, all right, each one of us gets one of these guns and we're going to fight. I was like, awesome. And for that entire day, we just shot each other left and right while we were, getting ready for the camp season. And at the end of it, we are just like, hey, you know what? Let's have this last all summer. This is pretty dope. I think this is gonna be great. But we wanted to make it interesting, so we bet a Magic the Gathering card pack on who would win. Right, the winner gets whatever pack they want, within reason, of course, because those things can get really expensive. But we did have a few ground rules. Okay, a body shot was 1 point, a headshot was 5 points, and it stopped all fighting for about 30 minutes. We are to keep track of all shots that hit us and tally them up. So at the very end of the fight, we could delay those, like relay those points to the other person, and keep track of them in a joint document. We also then aren't allowed to ask others to shoot for us because it just wouldn't count. We had to shoot the shot ourselves if we wanted it to count at all. Throwing Nerf balls did count. However, if a ball hit the ground and then the target, no shot. If the ball hit your gun, but it didn't hit you, it didn't count at all. But if it hit the gun and then it did hit you, it did count as a body shot. Okay? Now, those were the only rules. The only rules that we had immediately. We did add a few later on, and we'll get to there later. But those were just the basic rules, okay? Now, the very first day after we made these rules and we shook on it and we started officially keeping track, uh, let's just say it got a little heated, okay? So I went with my fellow counselors to go eat some lunch while we were preparing for the campers to arrive. They hadn't even arrived. They were like maybe a few weeks out, and so camp the camp was like completely empty, no kids around. So this was completely safe. He decided to do a drive by while I'm eating my lunch. So in his car, with his window down, he shoots at me, hits me once. I immediately get up, start chasing after him. I'm running full speed to chase after his car. He's not even driving fast to get away. He's just like, while slowly rolling up his window. And I stumble. I trip over my foot, and then I like somersault in the gravel, and I just keep running with my gun in hand, chasing down his car. The other counselors thought it was great, and I was like, "No, I need to get him." He drove away, but I did hold his family hostage with a Nerf gun, with his wife's permission, of course. And sadly, it did not work because he knew that it was just a Nerf gun and nothing would happen. But I did get his wife to agree to distract him so that I could shoot him from behind, and that was phenomenal. He felt very betrayed by her, and she's like, "I'm rooting for him." It was so good. Oh my goodness. However, okay, since he was my boss, he knew my schedule once the campers did come to the camp, and he knew the routes that I had to take because I was teaching archery and there was only two spots that we could teach that at, okay? So he would wait on the trails, behind logs, in logs, behind bushes, waiting for me and my campers to arrive. He would jump out and start shooting at me immediately. And I was just like, ah! So after like the first or second ambush, I realized I needed help. So I trained my campers to start looking for him. And they would disperse up and down the trail being like, "He's not here. He's not here. Guys, I found him." And after he realized he couldn't like get the jump on me anymore because my campers were helping me out, he stopped going on the trails, but I was still very paranoid. So I had my gun ready. I was like, eh. But my campers loved it. They got like really into it, and they started to tell me his whereabouts whenever they saw him, And they were such good little agents for me. I loved it so much. But every week we got new campers, and they would always be so excited. However, sometimes there was repeat ones, and they would be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do are we gonna do the hunt, the manhunt." I almost said his real name. Uh, Whoopsies. We're gonna do the manhunt. I was like, yeah, we are. We're gonna do that. If we have any free time and we need to fill time, we are hunting for him. Is that okay with everyone? And they all agreed. It was phenomenal. So I would take them on little excursions around the camp to try and hunt him down if we had done our archery for the day and they needed like an activity to do, but they were bored of all the archery stuff. I was like, okay, cool. Let's go hunt him down and shoot him with a Nerf gun. And they're just like, yeah. So had a lot of fun there. We did have to make a rule about no gunfights in the mess hall for food safety and no gunfights in the office because his bosses weren't going to be happy about that. But surprisingly, we never did make a rule about no gunfights in the bathroom. So that was always stressful. I did make sure that whenever I had to go to the restroom, he just wasn't around. Thankfully, I never got shot while in there, but I always expected it. And I was always on edge. Those were the most stressful bowel movements I've ever had. So, there was a few things that were like strategy wise that we did. Mainly, if we were behind, we would aim for the body more so that we could rack up points and then get the headshot. Because if you only do the headshot, it's 5 points. But if you get body shots and then the headshot, you could get like 8 to 10 points, depending on how many shots you actually land. And so I was behind by a few points from now and then. And so I would mainly aim for his body and then his head. Or I would just run away if I saw him coming and I wasn't prepared. I was just booking as fast as I could. And my campers knew if I started running, there was a reason. So they would run after me. Oh, it was so good. But there was a week that I wasn't going to be there. All right. And I did not want him to have rest. I wanted him to be a little stressed and on his toes. So I talked to the other counselors who loved what we were doing, by the way. They were all thrilled to see us just running around shooting each other with Nerf guns. So I talked them into actually grabbing some of the extra Nerf guns and being like, hey, guys, whenever you get a chance, just try and shoot him, okay? And they took that and ran with it. They started their own Nerf battles that week. They would lead their campers towards other camps to attack them. It completely threw the entire camp into chaos while I was gone. And they had to do a camp-wide announcement to get the other counselors and even their bosses to stop shooting each other with Nerf guns. They said the only people that are allowed to carry Nerf guns on them at all times are myself and my boss for a continued fight. No one else is allowed to, because we at least respected the rules of the camp where it was like, hey, if you have an activity, you got to do it. Yeah. But if there's like a little lull in the camp, you could go. And so because we were respectful of those rules, we got to continue. No one else did because they just threw it all away. There's like, no, man, this is war. Oh, it was so funny though. But yeah, he did chew me out about it. He's like, dude, you threw everything into chaos. I was like, hey, it's not completely my fault. All I said was to shoot you. All right. They did everything else on their own. So yeah, he chewed me out while also laughing because it was just hilarious. Uh, but yeah, we did that fight all summer long until the very last week of summer camp. Okay. Our friend was planning like a Magic the Gathering draft the following weekend, like after camps were all done. And so we changed the reward to whoever lost had to pay for the draft for the other person. And we had our final battle. We were tied, like neck and neck. We were tied for points. And we were just like, all right, this is going to be the final one. We agreed on that. And we fought in the parking lot. Shots were fired. We were throwing bolts at each other, trying to get each other whenever we ran out of ammo in our gun, trying to reload it. Shots were bouncing off of buses. It was so good. We were diving left and right, just trying to avoid everything. But it was body shot after body shot because we were not hitting each other in the head at all. We were just like, no, if I get hit in the head, I lose here. So I think we each racked up like 20 something points each in that last fight. But I beat him by 2 points. He's like, you earned it. And I was like, yes, I appreciate this. And in that draft, I did get a few really nice cards, including the most expensive card that the draft could have possibly had. And my friend who ran the draft was just like, "Are you kidding me?" Because it was like a $40 card. Well, $40 card at the time. I'm not sure how much it's worth right now. But yeah, no, it was so much fun. It was a great time, and I really want to have more Nerf wars like that. So yeah. That's the story of the best Nerf battle I've ever had.